Hi, I'm Frankie Snyder. I lived here for 14 years working as an archaeologist and as a tour guide. And my special interest was in the Temple Mount. And so what I want to do today is to tell you about the gateways by which our ancestors walked up to the Temple Mount. If we look down into this window, we will see a stairway. This is the one that goes down to Barclay's Gate. This is one of the gateways on the west side of the Temple Mount that our ancestors would have used 2,000 years ago. Directly behind me is a lintel that covers over an archway that was the entryway into the temple. Along the western wall, there were 4 major gateways that led from the city up to the Temple Mount during the late Second Temple period. Directly behind me is what we call today Robinson's Arch. And over here to my right is where the Robinson's Gate archway would have come up onto the Temple Mount. It would have come right into the middle of the southern stoa. This is one of the main gateways to bring citizens of the city of ancient Jerusalem onto the Temple Mount. We're standing here along the southern wall of the Temple Mount. There were 2 major entries into the Temple Mount from the southern wall. Directly behind me is the double gate. This led into an underground entry passage with stairs going up directly onto the Temple Mount. Inside of that passageway that still exists today are 4 beautiful domes that are left from the Herodian period that were carved into the ceiling. We're standing here along the eastern wall of the Temple Mount. One main gate that went directly onto the Temple Mount Plaza. And this is sometimes called the Eastern Gate, other times called the Golden Gate. The building behind us here is the gatehouse, or the Eastern Gate, or the Golden Gate. This was the main gate coming in from the east side of the Temple Mount. It is the only gate where you could enter directly from outside the city, directly onto the Temple Mount, without having to go through part of the city. The gate that we see today is not the original, but a much, much older gate was discovered in 1969 when an archaeologist named James Fleming fell into a hole in front of the gate, and he saw at his feet a beautiful arch, a very ancient entry onto the Temple Mount. We're here along the western wall of the Temple Mount. This is where our ancestors would have ascended to the Temple Mount. Behind me is Wilson's Arch. It is the first of a series of arches in an arched walkway that went from the Temple Mount up into the upper city. We're approaching a building that is currently called Katbe's Sabil. This is the building behind us. Katbe was a leader during the Mamluk period. It's called a Sabil because it's a water fountain. It has water coming out of it and has water stored down below it in a cistern. But if we look closely at the cistern, those are stairs going down to Wilson's Arch entryway along the western wall. And this is really a staircase underneath the ground here where our ancestors used to enter onto the Temple Mount. On top of that arch, even today, are some of the stones that are 2,000 years old. We're approaching now the Chain Gate. This was another one of the walkways that brought you onto the Temple Mount. There was a roadway that was up on elevated arches that went from the upper levels of the old city straight to the Temple Mount. And you can see the 2,000-year-old stones there. The remnants that we see down here below are the archways that made that elevated walkway. The stairs that we see down here, these are the original stairs from 2,000 years ago that led from the upper city onto the Temple Mount. This is the stairs that a lot of the Kohanim and the Levites who lived in the upper city would take every day as they went from the upper city onto the Temple Mount to perform their duties up there.